This channel is all about books, but once in a while I like to make a video about myself and my life because I think it's something that might be interesting or informative or helpful for other people, because I'm a very interesting person. And in this video I want to talk about how I have OCD. This is something that I have suspected for a while, and it's true, I have OCD. But what does that mean? The answer to that question is the exact reason I wanted to make this video. Because so many people have no idea what OCD actually is. And for the longest time, despite only recently realizing and getting diagnosed and getting therapy for having OCD myself, I have always been wound up by the people who say that they are OCD about things. God, I cannot stand when people do this. You know the people who do it. You've met these people, maybe you've done it yourself. The kind of person who likes a clean house or a tidy desk. And they say, oh, I'm so OCD about my desk. Oh, I'm so OCD about keeping my kitchen clean and tidy. F you. F off. This has been annoying me for the longest time because I've always understood that OCD is an horrendous disorder that so many people suffer with, and so many more people fully misunderstand and think it's just about cleanliness. And they flippantly say, yeah, I'm OCD about this. Really? You have a disorder. Do you? I don't think you do. I think you like it when things aren't dusty. F***ing good for you. Now that I got that rant out of the way, a rant I have wanted to do forever, let's talk about what OCD actually is and how it is not about cleanliness. OCD stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, and I can't give you a nice, simple dictionary definition because it is a broad spectrum of experiences. But the number one main thing to know about OCD, in my opinion, as someone who isn't an expert but does have it and is receiving therapy for it, is what's known as intrusive thoughts. Thoughts that pop into your head out of nowhere, that can frighten you or make you confused, and most of all, make you feel paranoid. For years and years and years, I thought that this was just a manifestation of anxiety. I've had anxiety for a long, long time. I've been diagnosed with that as well. I've been medicated for it. And as my therapist has explained to me, generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, does have a strong overlap with obsessive compulsive disorder. Oftentimes, you can be diagnosed with one when you really have the other, and vice versa. But people can have OCD and not have anxiety. I've always had both. But what does it mean to have intrusive thoughts? A classic example that a lot of people give and a lot of us experience, myself included, and my therapist gave it as an example as well, is being paranoid about not having locked the door when you leave the house. A lot of people with OCD genuinely struggle to leave their house on time because they have to check everything 1,000 times. Check that the oven is off, that the windows are closed. Check you didn't leave a tap running. Check that you locked the door, and then check that again, and then check it again. This happened to me this morning on my way to see my therapist. I literally checked all the things I just mentioned, over and over again. And I'm very early in my journey of therapy, so I don't fully understand how these intrusive thoughts work, where they come from, what the source of them is, etc., but I understand how they feel, and what my therapy is going to do is tackle those thoughts and feelings. But intrusive thoughts can come in so many other forms. Quite often they manifest as absurd things, impossible things. OCD can even invent memories that just don't exist. And what I mean by this is that OCD often manifests as a what if question. What if I accidentally ran someone over with my car and just forgot? This is something I genuinely saw on TikTok, and it's what got me thinking about the fact that I must have OCD. It was a TikTok of a woman talking about how she hit a speed bump in her car, in her neighborhood, a speed bump that she knows is there, but she got this intrusive thought. What if this time it wasn't a speed bump and it was a person? So she drove around the block like 30 times, looking for an injured person or a body. She went home feeling paranoid that she had done something terrible, that she'd hurt someone, and just didn't know or didn't understand or didn't remember. That is such a good example of OCD. It's also a very extreme example, but OCD is often extreme. And as far as I understand, early on in my therapy journey, a lot of it stems from not having trust in yourself, in your body, your mind, your memories, your emotions, etc. Take the example of not having locked the door. Locking the door when you leave the house is an almost automatic thing. It's a muscle memory thing. We don't often consciously think about doing it. It's something that most of us do every single day. You leave the house, you lock the door, and as you're doing that routine, your mind is often somewhere else. You're thinking about other things, but you know you did it. And then at no point during the day do you wonder if you did it and doubt that you did it. But with OCD, you can convince yourself that you didn't do it. You can make up a false memory of having left the door wide open. You can picture your door just hanging open. Your cat has escaped. Burglars are inside. A few weeks ago, I went to an event with a friend. That friend was really excited about me attending that event because he was performing in it. But on my way to the event, I convinced myself that I'd left the oven on. I pushed the thought aside, and it was painful to do it. I was like, no, that's not true. My partner was with me, and they said, no, we did not. We did not leave the oven on. We didn't even use it today. It's fine. Put it out of your mind. And so I did, for about an hour, maybe 2. And then halfway through the event, after I'd seen my friend perform, I apologized and said, I have to go home. I have to check the oven. I can't deal with this anymore. And when I got home, the oven was off. Of course it was off, but I couldn't be sure. I had images in my head of the oven dial turned on, the light glowing inside, the sound of it humming. I knew it was on, but it wasn't. I've had images of my door swinging open. I'm sure I've left it unlocked, even though I never have. I've mentioned in the past the fact that I have health anxiety. I worry about getting sick. I obsess over particular illnesses and then move on to the next one when my brain gets bored or stops hyper-focusing on the one thing and then focusing on the next. I can't even imagine watching a medical drama anymore, where each week, each episode, they focus on a different illness, because I would think I had that illness every single time. But it's not just health anxiety, it's OCD. I can convince myself that I feel the symptoms that aren't there. I can second guess whether or not I've always had this particular ache or pain. Sometimes OCD comes with rituals. That's probably something you've heard about. Flicking a light switch on 20 times, things like that. That doesn't have to be the case, and rituals don't have to look like rituals. Let me give you an example. I've recently become obsessed, that's the O in OCD, with the idea that I could accidentally ingest crushed glass, that there might be crushed up bits of glass in my food or something I drink. I don't know where this has come from. I have no idea. It's an intrusive thought. There's broken glass in my food. And the ritual for dealing with that is that every single time I take a glass out of my cupboard, I think there might be little sprinklings, broken shards of glass at the bottom of my glass. I can't get it out of my head. So what do? Every single time I take a clean glass out of my cupboard, I swill it out in the sink. I put it under the tap, I fill it up, I tip it out, I fill it up, I tip it out, I fill it up, I tip it out, I fill it up one more time, and then it's safe to drink. I have to do it 3 times to make sure that any broken glass that's in there is no longer in there. I told my therapist about it, and he said, what would happen if you didn't do that routine, do that ritual? What if you just drank straight from the glass? And I told him that I'd tried, that I've thought about it, that I've tried to just fill up a glass and down the water, and I can't do it. I can't let myself. The feeling takes over, the thoughts scream in my head. I've tried, and I can't. And that's what the therapy is for, to get me to that point where I can. I could go on, and I could give you more and more examples. But honestly, making this video is kind of uncomfortable. I've opened up about myself a lot in a lot of different videos, especially about being trans and the experience of being trans. That's all kind of fun. I think it's helpful and useful. And I hope that this is helpful and useful as well. I want to help people fully understand what OCD is and what it can look like and how it can feel. But I feel like I'm opening up a little bit too much here. This is the most I ever want to open up about anything. But I honestly don't think I could open up more than this. OCD is embarrassing. It comes with a lot of shame, because while there's a voice in your head, an intrusive thought telling you that you left the door open and that there's broken glass in your food. There's also a voice in your head that says, "That's crazy. That's impossible." A voice that asks you, "Are you insane? Are you okay?" A more rational voice that is genuinely shocked at the OCD behavior. And that's where the shame comes from, because we know that OCD thoughts, intrusive thoughts, are not rational at all. But that doesn't stop us from having them. So what you need is therapy or medication that can help you control those thoughts. I don't know what this is going to look like. I've just started my therapy, but a few months from now, when I'm done with this batch of sessions that I've booked, I'll let you know. I'll make another video about my experience of getting my OCD under control. Maybe being cured of it, if that's such a thing. I guess we'll see. But part of the reason I chose my therapist is because he himself used to have OCD. So I trust him to know what he's talking about personally and professionally. OCD is horrible. And looking back, I can't believe that I didn't know that I had it until fairly recently. So I really hope that I've helped here by explaining what OCD is and what it isn't. It is not cleanliness. It is not being tidy. And it doesn't have to be rituals of shutting doors over and over again or switching light switches on and off, etc., which some people think it is. And it can be that. I've got a friend with OCD who does those rituals. As he explained to me, he has a thought that maybe someone in his family will get injured unless he flicks a light switch on and off. So he does that in order to keep that person safe. That's a genuine OCD experience. He's had OCD for years and years. But it doesn't have to be. It's the intrusive thoughts. His intrusive thoughts are, your mum will get hurt unless you do this. Mine are, there's broken glass in your food. You've left the door open. You left the oven on. This thing happened in the past that never happened. And they can even be as extreme as you ran someone over and just don't remember. OCD is often defined by what-if scenarios. What if this thing happened? Or what if it will happen? Intrusive thoughts, paranoia, what-if questions, rituals that help you cope with it. These are all the symptoms of OCD. And I have all of that. It's just for every single one of us, it can manifest in very, very different ways. It's not about keeping your desk tidy or your house clean. So there you go. That is the most I'm ever going to open up about anything on my channel, but I did it because I need people to know that OCD is not what we think it is. And I hope I've helped, because knowing is a good thing. G.I. Joe said that. I don't know. I don't know what G.I. Joe is. I'm British. Anyway, I usually talk about books on this channel, so subscribe for books.